Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Neo. In this video we're working on a brand new client. It was her first time coming to get her nails done with me, and it came out so great, and I'm super excited to add her to my family. So we're just getting started with prepping, and she's very handsy. As you can see, her hands are going to be all over the video because she was just having a good time talking. But as I always do, start off by spraying her down with some alcohol and using a cuticle pusher to just push back her eponychium to expose that cuticle that has grown out. Her nails were nice and thick and natural. When she came, she had a thin, she did soak off, but she did have a thin areas of acrylic on her nails. I just went in with my e-file and just removed those down as thin as I possibly could without damaging her natural nail. So we have a good base to start off with. I'm using my diamond skiver bit to scrape off any of that dead skin that I exposed by pushing her skin back on that nail plate. Just getting ready with my normal prep. It's important to prep well so that the enhancements that you add onto the nails, last as long as they need to. It's very common for people to expect it, but nails really shouldn't be lasting you 4 to 5 weeks. Like that's great, but usually you should be going in for a fill-in, etc. Maybe around 2 to 3 weeks. I have some clients who come once a month. I have clients who come every 2 weeks, but for the most part, great prep will just give you the best amount of longevity possible. After going in with that diamond bit, I'm using my zebra sanding band. This is from Young Nails. This is a medium grit. Because it's a medium grit, I tend to use a lighter hand just because it's a heavier grit. I don't want to remove too much of that natural nail, but I like to buff the natural nail and then spend a little bit more time around that cuticle and sidewall area. So wherever I use my diamond bit, I'm just going to lightly use that sanding band to kind of buff away the skin and that sidewall area, cuticle area, to remove any excess cuticle that I might have left on the nail. We're going in for some tips now. So I'm using these natural coffin tips that I got from Amazon. I don't really use these often. I've mentioned it before in a previous video, but when I have clients who want a shorter nail, then I use these kinds of tips. I don't use my favorite super duper long ones if I know the client is just going to ask me to chop it all off. And we're going natural because we are going to be doing a colored acrylic. We're not going to be doing any glass effect or anything like that on her nails. So just taking my time to size her up and to make sure that the tips are straight. So my trick to making sure that the nails look straight, even if the fingertips are a little bit wobbly, is to follow the knuckle. So like on this finger, I'm going to cheat the tip a little bit to the left, just a tiny bit to the left, to ensure that it's a straight appearance of a nail. So like this one as well, her fingers curving to the bottom right of the screen, I'm going to cheat the tip to, as you can see, it's to the left of where her fingertip is, but if you look down the entire length of the nail, then it is a straight line. So I like to follow the knuckles. It just helps me, like I say all the time, there's nothing worse than finishing a set and then one of the fingers is like slightly going to the right or slightly going to the left. I see them all the time, like on Instagram, and I'm like, damn girl. But yeah, just sizing her up, making sure that the tip sticks, and adding adequate glue. So like I mentioned, this client wants them chopped down. She's a very active person and cannot have super duper long nails. I was like obviously sad about it because like the longer the better, right? But no biggie, I'm just using my scissors. Actually, I hate using the scissors. It's because I removed my straight edge clipper from my nail room and just didn't put it back and didn't feel like going to get it. But like I definitely purchased 2 more just in case. So I have my clipper back now, but man, I really hate cutting tips with the scissors. But I'm just using my scissors to kind of just cut them down. I'm matching with the previous hand because I did that off camera. And we are going to be filing these nails into an almond shape. So it was actually her first time getting this shape. She was like, oh, I see it all the time, and I want to try it. I'm like, okay. So just cutting her down, matching the length. Always use one hand as a reference. I always try to cut the nails on one hand, have the client like touch their phone, make a fist, move around so they can see if it's a length that they like, and then use that hand to then measure the other fingers. I'm going to be using a 100 grit hand file to just round out these nails and create that beautiful almond shape. So I'm not going to show you the entire hand because it's redundant, but on the pinky, as you can see, I am just going back and forth, side to side. I never try to file too much on one side because you want the tip of that almond shape to be centered to the knuckles and that nail. If you file one side too much, you might find that your almond is like leaning leaning to the right or leaning to the left. So just going back and forth and using an extremely light hand. I'm not filing heavy-handed. I'm literally just wiping that hand file around the edge of the tip, and it slowly does what it's supposed to do. As you can see, we're getting that nice rounded shape, and I wanted it to be mildly more pointy, so I'm just going to spend a little bit more time refining that. And I sweep down and up from the bottom of the tip as well. But as you can see, I'm just going back and forth from side to side to make sure that we get a nice even shape down the center of that nail. And after some editing magic, all of the nails are done with the filing. But as you can see, it's a nice, beautiful shape, and the length is not too long for her. One thing to keep in mind is just to let your clients know that the length that you cut the tips down to after filing a specific shape, it might be a little bit shorter. So if your client wants a little bit more length on something like this, I would say cut a little bit longer than you think that they might want, and then file, and it most likely will be the length that they are expecting. After filing and shaping, I was going to say faping, filing and shaping, I'm just going in with that same sanding band, and I'm just blending out that tip just lightly, nothing crazy. I am gonna cover it with a clear bead of acrylic like I normally do, so no biggie. Instead of dehydrator, I'm actually going in with Young Nails Swipe to dehydrate, just trying, you know, different priming systems and things like that to see what works. So this is the Not Polished Triple Bond. I've been loving it. I'm still waiting for some clients to come back to see how long those nails last with this priming situation, but just adding a thin coat to all of the nails, and then we're going to get started. I like to go in with a thin coat of clear acrylic. This is the Not Polished Clear. I'm also using the Not Polished Monomer, and 1, 2, 3 quick 2 swipes, and this nail is basically based. Many reasons to do this. I like using clear acrylic as a base, one, because it helps to blend that tip like you saw. I blended with a sanding band, but if you know you don't enjoy blending or you're not very good at it, then this also helps to give you a smooth foundation to the nail as well. 2, clear acrylic has the best possible adhesion because there's nothing in it. There's no pigment, there's no mica, there's no mica, there's no glitter or anything to you know, disrupt that adhesion, and it gives you a nice base so that when clients come back to remove a set, if you're a filer downer like I am and not a soaker, then it keeps that natural nail nice and safe. And as you saw, it didn't take more than 2 minutes to do one hand. I just like it. I'm going in with Not Polished. This is a whole Not Polished set. This is Not Polished First Nudes. I actually used this in my not most recent, but a previous video on another client. This was actually sitting on the table when this client came in, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to use it on her. She didn't really have an idea as to what she wanted, but I was like, let's go in with a nice nude. I think when you do an almondy nail, it's just really gorgeous and just elongates the nail to have just like a gorgeous almondy nail, nude nail. So I just went in and used this on her. On her other hand, I attempted to 1 bead these nails just because they're pretty short, and I totally can, but it was a little warm in the room, so the acrylic was setting a little bit faster than I would have liked. So I decided to go in with 2 beads for the most part for most nails, and then just adding for coverage. I will not be clear capping these nails because, as you can see, they're not long at all and don't need significant structure to those nails. So I'm just, again, using medium-sized beads, applying it right around her, not her free edge, but where the stress point of her nail would pretty much be, and then, you know, massaging it down. It's a little bit different when you're working with a rounder nail. Normally I would extend that product past the length of the nail, let it polymerize a little bit, and then use the body of my brush to kind of tap to fold it over the tip and then remove it. But as you can see here, it's better to kind of size up your bead so that you know it's going to extend to the tip of this almond nail. I don't have to worry about removal because it's not a flat surface where that folding over process is going to be a little bit easier. So what I like to do for almonds is to just make sure I use an adequate size bead, and then swipe it down, and as I'm getting closer to the tip of the nail, kind of swiping around that shape to kind of push the product back towards the center, and it usually does a good job, especially for these shaped nails. You don't want them to be particularly thick on the ends of the nails. It's just not I don't think it's, you know, cute to have like an almond nail and on the very edge of that nail it's pretty thick. You kind of want it to be thin on the tip, thick in the middle, so that you avoid stress fractures. I was actually talking to a friend who also plays tennis, because I play tennis, and she had these really beautiful long almond nails, but she was saying like, oh, my nails keep cracking in the middle. And I was telling her, like, no shade to your nail tech, but like, she needs to give you more of an apex. You're getting stress fractures in the middle. If you've ever seen anything like that on your nail, right where your free edge of your natural nail kind of ends, you see tiny little cracks on the sides of your nails. That just means that there's not enough structure on that nail shape for that length. And as you're using your nails, there's a stress fracture, it's going to crack. And that's how most people end up with like accidents and things like that. So for this client, I am just making sure to build up towards the middle of the nail. Sometimes you'll see me add additional beads right in the middle. There you go, like that, in the middle of the nail, just to add a little bit more product. You want it to be secure and sturdy, especially because it's a pointy nail. They're going to be tapping on those thin points of the tip of the nail, versus if it's a square nail, the stress kind of distributes in a different, look at me talking about like science and stuff, but you get what I'm saying. Just making sure that the nail has an adequate structure to support what these clients are doing. In this case, these nails are fairly short, so it's not much that you have to do, but just making sure you keep that in mind when doing nails. What do these clients do with their hands? How can I best serve them so that these nails last as long as they need to? And just to reiterate everything on the thumb, so I'm using an adequate size, like medium bead right around where her stress fracture would be, like where her free edge is. And I'm pushing the product towards the center of the nail like I always do. And in this case, I'm not folding over excess product, right? I'm just slowly swiping the product from side to side. There you go, going around the shape of that almondy nail and back swiping so that the product is not thick on that tip. And there you go, like I didn't even have to waste any product removing anything. It just works for the length of this nail. So that's my trick in terms of doing like rounded or almondy types of nails. I don't really enjoy trying to remove excess product from these types of shapes just because it's a little bit difficult. It's rounded. Then I'm going in with my cuticle bead. I place it a little bit lower than the cuticle, and I like to use the brush to kind of push the product where I want it to be to get the coverage I need and the structure I need. Then blend down, and then I'm going to go in with a final, or however many beads, I don't remember, just to make sure I get enough coverage, and then to add for structure as well. Once done with my application, these nails look really great, but we've got to smooth them down. So I'm going in with this medium carbide bit that I got from Amazon. This has become my new favorite bit. I don't know when it happened, but I think it's a mixture of like, it's a medium grit, so I get enough of, grit, I guess, on the bit to kind of remove and debulk and things like that, but also probably because it's not a brand new bit. It's a little bit on the dull side, so I feel like I can really get close up into the, I don't know why we're probably talking. I feel like I can really get close to the client's cuticle and sidewall area and not worry about cutting them, just because the bit is a little bit older at this point. It's like at that perfect stage where you kind of know exactly how it's going to perform. I love it at this point. And I'm kind of like, if I buy a new one, it's going to be like super sharp and brand new, and I'm going to have to like wear it down before it gets to this like sweet spot that I'm super enjoying right now. But yeah, I'm just doing the same resurfacing, that I always do, side to side up the entire length of the nail, going around the cuticle and sidewall area from the right, around the middle of the nail, and then down the left side. I just feel like this, helps so much, especially with this shape of nail, making sure, like, I remember what I said, I like my almondy or rounded shapes to be a little bit thinner on the tip, thicker in the middle, and then thinner back at the cuticle and sidewall area. And like I mentioned, like, these almond nude nails look so beautiful on her. Doesn't it just, I feel like an almond nail just kind of extends the nail in like a natural way, but it's so classy and elegant. That's why I tell people, in terms of like shapes, almond is just like a super classy, elegant shape, especially if it's like a bomb nude. Like, this is First Nudes from Not Polished, is really gorgeous. Her hands look so pretty with this length, shape, and color. After e-filing, I like to go in with my hand file and just refine my shapes. So as you see, I was swiping from underneath the nail. That just helps me to remove any excess acrylic that might be sitting around there. It helps me to refine the shape and to thin it out just a tiny bit. And I'm using a very, very light hand. I'm literally just swiping very lightly around the shape because we did a good job pre-shaping the nails and then a good job in applying the acrylic. You see I didn't warp my shape too much, but we just want a nice crisp finish to the shape of these nails. Because I'm going to be doing some hand painting, well, a lot of hand painting on these nails, I decided to go in with a buffing block. I don't do this all the time, but in this case, I just wanted a nice smooth surface with a little bit of texture, just so that when we went in with our nail gel polish, that it would have something really, really good to stick to or to, you know, sit on. So this is just a cute, I said cute, it's just a little, it is cute, but it's a little buffing block that I'm just buffing the top and bottoms of the nails, just to make sure that we have a nice smooth application surface. After that, I had the client go wash her hands, and I didn't put in the video, but I did spray her down with alcohol and use my manicure brush to remove any dust, debris, and to disinfect, yes, and to dehydrate as well. That's something that I like to do in terms of if I'm going to do gel polish finish, just always doing that. It just gives me a nice, beautiful surface to get ready for. So as you saw, I started adding some colors to my palette. That means we were doing some hand designs. It is going to go down in this video. And at this point, she was just kind of like, I don't really care what you do. And I had no idea what to do. I was like, boom, we have these gorgeous almond nails. I don't know where to go from here. And I actually have like a little notebook in my nail room of designs that I, you know, draw or sketch or will like, you know, take notes on of things that I want to do. So I actually pulled that out and saw that I had a set designed for 80s nails. And I was like, you know what, let's just try it. So I'm starting off with this cute lavender purple. I'm not going to name the polishes in the video, but they will be linked down below because I can't remember off the top of my head right now. We used so many colors. But this is like a nice lavender kind of soft purple color, and on 3 of the nails I'm doing a diagonal kind of French look like you would do with acrylic. On 1 of the nails, I'm going to do a full coat of this purple polish. And in terms of like 80s that I'm thinking of, remember back, I don't know if you were around for the 80s, but remember that aesthetic that's like when you would walk into like Discovery Zone and the carpet was like black with like spaceships and pink and purple swirly lines, or like Saved by the Bell, that like turquoisey and purple aesthetic with the spirals and the little zigzags. That's basically what I had in mind for this set. So I'm using my favorite liner brushes, a mix of the liner brushes that I always talk about and the new set of Beetles brushes that I recently purchased. I will link everything down below so you can check that out. But that's basically the aesthetic that we were going for. Making sure that we have nice clean application of that polish and having her cure constantly. So for this set, I do one hand, have her cure that hand, and I'm just going back and forth based on, you know, you don't want to have to wait for something to cure before moving on. So I was going back and forth with the hands, and there's no rhyme or reason. I was really just winging it, coming up with shapes. I'm starting off with this hot pink, and we're doing a half circle. Don't ask me where I got this from. It's just, it was in my brain, and I'm kind of mixing up the pattern so that it's not exactly the same in terms of like location on each nail. So I did leave the ring finger bare. I wasn't sure what I was going to do on it at that point, but I didn't want every single nail to have this crazy pattern on it because I didn't want it to be too busy. But all of the designing is going to go on that purple surface. So I'm going in, drew some half circles in the hot pink, and then I had her cure. Then I'm going in with this really cool teal color from, these are all from iGel Beauty actually. Really, really great to stock up on iGel. Their prices actually went up recently. I was like, ew. I went to their website to look for something and remembered spending like $5 for an acrylic, $5.60 or like less than $6 for an acrylic, and now they're like $12. I'm like, I see you, iGel. You guys are getting popular and your prices are going up, but still crazy affordable. But yeah, that's a good thing about iGel Beauty. You can get a lot of products for a really good price, especially their gel polishes. They come in that duo, so you can get like a regular polish and a gel polish version of the same color at the same time. It's just really good. I, as a nail tech, stocked up on most of the gel polishes using, you know, that 60% sale that they have, and the fact that the polishes are good quality and just a little bit cheaper because, you know, they're expensive. And if you're a new tech, it's really tempting to want to have everything. So making sure that you have good quality stuff but that are affordable is really important. So back to what I'm actually doing. I went in with that teal color and drew kind of like these rectangle shapes. Now I'm going in with this neon laser lemon color. And I'm drawing these like arbitrary triangles, like if it was a square hanging off the side of the nail. I will do 2 coats of this just because I wanted this to be super, super neon and to stand out. Then I'm going in with a dotting tool and I'm just adding some blue dots randomly to the nail. Honestly, at this point, I was just winging it. Like in my head, I could see the aesthetic, but I didn't know how to describe it. If you asked me to describe what I was doing, I don't know that I'd be able to tell you. Now I'm gonna be drawing some zigzags in white. This is the iGel Beauty gel paint, and I am just going to be drawing zigzag lines across the nail. I think it's really cool that some of these designs overlap each other. It just builds up that pattern. And yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say in terms of like the design, but hopefully you know the aesthetic that I'm talking about. Think like Saved by the Bell, Sister Sister, with the, you know, the graphic like pop art, squiggles and like random geometric shapes, circles and things like that. Yeah, it was a really cool, I'm not gonna get my age out, but you know, it was a really cool aesthetic. So I knew I wanted some spirals on the nail, but then realized I didn't really make space for spirals. So I figured I'd make use of those hot pink circles and just draw like little spirally bits on top of the pink, and then to add 3 tiny little dots of black. I felt like the black helped to ground this design because it felt like I just had like pastel kind of colors floating on top of the purple, and I feel like the black definitely helped to ground some of the design. And adding more black with the 3 dots was just a way to add more black to that design. Not gonna lie, part of me when I was done was like, I wish I outlined that turquoise rectangle. I at least did a drop shadow or something like that on it just to ground that as well, because I wasn't really a fan of how that just felt like it was floating. Doesn't it look like a little face? Just of how it was kind of floating. But I do love the idea of some of these shapes and, you know, things overlapping each other, because that was totally the aesthetic at the time. But this came out super duper cool. Then I felt like I needed a little bit more blue, so I'm going in with another dotting tool, slightly smaller, and just adding another blue dot randomly on the nail, just filling up that space because that's pretty much what it was looking like. Then I felt like I needed a little bit of orange in here, and I'm doing like a hashtag sign but with 1 vertical line. Like, I don't know what this shape would be called, but it's a vertical line and then 2 horizontal lines pretty much in an orange gel polish. So just filling up the space and giving random shapes and things like that, but hopefully you can kind of see the vibe of what I was doing here. And then adding some more white, so going in with a white dotting tool and just adding random white dots randomly around the nail. And I am having her cure in between each of these steps because you don't want these colors kind of blending. Last thing in terms of painting is to, you know, give a nice thin black line to separate the nude that we did with the acrylic and the polish area. So I felt like this was really good, and the black definitely helped to ground that design down. Just taking my time here. One thing about doing long lines like this is to use a thin long liner brush and kind of just let the brush do the job for you. You don't want to do small little brush strokes. As you can see, I'm just letting the brush do the work. Let the brush kind of lay on the nail and drag it down instead of trying to draw a straight line. Most times your hands are not that steady and it'll come out a little bit thick or inconsistent and a little bit wobbly. Then I wanted to add a little bit of bling. I wasn't sure about the bling actually. I felt like a tiny bit of sparkle would have been cool. Maybe I should have done it in like a black rhinestone or like a purple rhinestone, something different. But I'm going in with my Bling Adhesive and adding one tiny little rhinestone to the back corner of those French nails, and on this nude nail just adding 2 or 3 tiny little rhinestones around the cuticle. That's like my little aesthetic to add some cuticle beads. Love. To finish off this set, we are just going in with the Matted top coat by Not Polish. I'm so loving this top coat. My favorite top coat was, I said was, everybody, so that means it has changed, the Beetles matte top coat. I think that matte top coat is just delicious. It's so good. My only qualm about it is that it comes in these uber tiny containers that you basically finish with 1 or 2 sets. But this Matted by Not Polish Not Polish is so good, guys. It's so beautiful and thick, and the consistency is great, and it gives you a really true matte finish. Most of the time matte polishes give you more of a velvety finish where it's has a little bit of a sheen, but this is like straight up matte, which I love. Please disregard me painting over those rhinestones. I do wipe them off. It's just something that I started doing out of laziness, but I'm not leaving it matte like that because this matte top coat would totally ruin that rhinestone. I just paint around it, especially if it's a rhinestone back around the cuticle area. I just paint over it and then wipe it off after, and it does come out totally fine. You will see in the final shots of this video. Once done with adding this top coat, I have the client cure for 60 seconds and then this set is done. Check it out here. Rhinestones look fine, and this is what that set came up looking like. I think it was so cool, and the matte top coat definitely just grounded it so that it wasn't so in your face, and it totally gives you that 80s aesthetic. Hopefully you like it. The nude looks beautiful on her. Like if you like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.